Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I'm Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. As you can tell, we are coming to you from our beautiful Central Washington location here in Cle Elum, Washington. It is Thursday, April 27th. We are now exactly 48 hours into living under the tyranny of Washington's new assault weapon ban. Now, it's my favorite time of the year. The legislative session's just ended, and that means, oh yeah, it's lawsuit time. And my goodness, we have a few of them to talk about. We've already done this video right here where we kind of started talking about, hey, here's a couple of lawsuits already. We're going to get you up to speed on all three of them. We're going to spend most time talking about the third one, but this is all really encouraging news. So let's spend a few minutes today and talk about 3 is the magic number, especially when you're suing your attorney general. Okay, before we get going down the road we're going down, proud to announce that this video is being brought to you by Security Gun Club and Washington Gun Law's Freedom Friday. That's right. You are tired of the insanity. You're half tempted to move out of the state. Can't blame you. What are you going to do if you have to stay here? You're going to fight this insanity? Well, I think you should. And so what you can do is you can show up at Security Gun Club located right here in Woodinville, Washington. Friday, April 28th, we're going to have our first ever Freedom Friday. Now listen, in addition to a lot of reps and cool giveaways and stuff like that, we got an entire curriculum of class that evening. So bring yourself and bring your checkbook, because every penny we raise that night is going to the Silent Majority Foundation to help fight some of this insanity. Also proud to announce that the good folks at Security Gun Club have said, hey, listen, if you sign up for a Shield of Security membership when you're there on Freedom Friday, guess what? 100% of those proceeds will also go to the Silent Majority Foundation. So if you want to pre-register or if you want more information, visit my good friends at Security Gun Club right there. That is security with an E. That's securitygunclub.com. Okay, Thursday, April 27th. You are now waking up, and it is 48 hours into Washington's assault weapon ban. And while society has not yet come unraveled at the seams, I am proud to announce now that there is not one, not 2, but 3 separate lawsuits now filed to stop the insanity that is House Bill 1240. Now, as you know from this video right here, we talked to our good friend Pete Serrano with the Silent Majority Foundation and actually got live footage of him filing his lawsuit. That is the one suit right now which is filed in state superior court. That is the matter of Guardian Arms versus Inslee, and that is filed in Grant County Superior Court, and that suit is requesting an emergency temporary injunction on implementation of this law pending outcome. So that is the one matter that is filed in state court. During the same video, we also talked to you about the matter of Hartford v. Ferguson. Now, that suit is being brought by our good friend Joel Ard and the Firearms Policy Coalition. That suit is filed in the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Washington. Now, the difference between those two suits is minor. The suit in Grant County is pursuing this under state constitutional grounds. The suit in Western Washington, Hartford v. Ferguson, is pursuing the suit under federal constitutional grounds. But I am also proud to announce that there is now a third suit, and that is filed in the Eastern District of Washington, United States District Court, Eastern District of Washington, and that is the matter of Banta v. Ferguson, okay? And now, here's the nice thing. The attorney on this case, attorney out of Seattle named Steve Fogg, I had the pleasure of working with Mr. Fogg when we were way back in the day when we both had the pleasure of working for Norm Mailing at the King County Prosecutor's Office. And I'm telling you, this guy is a really, really good lawyer. He's a really sharp dude. And I've had a chance to take a look at the pleadings on this, and I really, really like what he's done here. Now, before I start geeking out on all the pleadings, let me explain who the plaintiffs are, because in addition to the named plaintiff Banta, there are several other plaintiffs of which you are probably going to know. And they include Sharp Shooting out of Spokane, The Range LLC out of Yakima, Aero Precision, and the National Shooting Sports Foundation. So you can see there's a lot of very legitimate plaintiffs behind this suit. Now, this suit, Banta v. Ferguson, which is filed in the Eastern District of Washington, United States District Court, Eastern District of Washington, is challenging this law under both the Second and the 14th Amendment. In particular, Mr. Fogg, attorney of record here, has made a big deal out of the common use test. And this is exactly where plaintiff's counsel should be going. So kudos to Mr. Fogg. Now, for those of you who are just now getting familiar with the common use test, okay, it is nothing that comes from Bruin. It actually comes from the case of District of Columbia v. Heller. And it basically says that the Second Amendment protects the types of firearms that are in common use today for lawful purposes. Or put in other terms, when we go back and we try to figure out the history of restricting firearms, we have found that the only historical analogs that allowed government to restrict firearms were firearms which were both dangerous and unusual. Not dangerous or unusual, as the gun-grabbing left would like to have you believe, but dangerous and unusual. So when you're talking about the most common rifle in circulation today for multiple legal purposes, there really is nothing unusual about that. And Mr. Fogg, to his credit, has absolutely knocked it out of the park. Now, to give you an idea of just how common and therefore how not unusual these firearms are, Mr. Fogg was able to find out that the most common car on the road in the United States right now is the Ford F-150 pickup truck. There is approximately 16 million of those on the roads in the United States. However, there's about 24.5 million now assault rifles in circulation in the United States. Not particularly uncommon or unusual, is it? Mr. Fogg was also able to point out that on average about 2 million assault weapons are sold annually to Americans. Now, the annual subscription rate to the New York Times, one of the largest papers with one of the largest circulations in the country, is approximately 716,000. So that means there are more than twice as many people purchasing assault weapons as there are people reading the New York Times. And then, of course, the other thing, and this is always the wise argument, is that there is absolutely no historical analog to justify this type of ban. And again, plaintiff's counsel is absolutely correct. The first proposed assault weapon bans took place somewhere in the late 1980s, early 1990s. So when we go back to the late 1700s, we really cannot find any historical analog. Plaintiff's counsel really knocked it out of the park when he summarized it as follows. It is little surprise then that there is no tradition in this country, historical or otherwise, of prohibiting firearms with these common features. To the contrary, the vast majority of states place no special restrictions on semi-automatic centerfire rifles with detachable magazine and a pistol grip, thumbhole stock, flash suppressor, or adjustable stock. Indeed, only 8 states, other than California plus the District of Columbia, have singled out such arms for special restrictions, and all those restrictions are of recent vintage. And again, citing to the footnote that California enacted its first assault weapon ban in 1989. Now, the good news about this lawsuit, as well as the other two that we're talking about, is all 3 of them are asking for an immediate temporary injunction. Now, again, we've already talked about temporary injunctions, but essentially it's a big fat pause button that the court couldn't put on the implementation and enforcement of the law. That means that if any one of these 3 suits, is granted a temporary injunction, the enforcement of this law ceases to exist, and we can start living almost like we're in the United States of America again. Now, I have no doubt that Attorney General Ferguson will crap his pants and immediately try to stampede to Olympia to get to the front of the Washington State Supreme Court and see what they do about it. But in that interim time, and it might only be a few days, for all those people caught up on that 10-day waiting period, that might be your window of time to actually make the transfer happen. So the case, again, that we're talking about is Banta v. Ferguson. I also want you to keep track of Guardian Arms versus Inslee, as well as Hartford v. Ferguson, okay? And just to get you all up to speed, Guardian Arms versus Inslee filed in Grant County Superior Court. That's filed in the State Superior Court. Hartford v. Ferguson is filed in the United States District Court for the Western District of Washington, so that's a federal court. And then our most recent case, Banta v. Ferguson, is filed in the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Washington. Now, I'm hearing rumblings of other suits, and obviously, as soon as I hear of them, we will let you know. If you happen to be a plaintiff's counsel on any one of these cases, and cases that I have not publicized yet, please feel free to contact me. I would be happy to publicize your litigation as well. Listen, you may have more questions about House Bill 1240, Washington's assault weapon ban, or any of this other crazy stuff. If you do, you should know how to contact Washington Gun Law by now, but if you don't, that's okay. All of that information is right there in the description box. Now, in the meantime, I want all of you to remember that part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation, how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching, and stay safe.